water, sewer, paving, drainage. And you do, the water utilities department and land development, they ask the people on the street, would they want the water, sewer, paving, drainage? And people, you know, I don't know how they do that survey. They offer their feedback, and sometimes it doesn't work. In Palm Springs, actually, they actually just go and they put in the water and sewer, and then people have to connect because of the health department. But one thing about this project, it lumps all these different aspects into one big basket, and not everybody has the same priorities. I mean, I actually worked on the Park of Commerce in 1998 with the county, and I'm very fond of that, and I'm a big fan of that project. But as far as the roadway improvements versus sidewalks, to me personally, as a parent of 4 children that cannot walk my kids on a sidewalk all the way from here, and it's 90 seconds in a car down to North Grade Elementary School, that's not really acceptable. I mean, my personal opinion, and in unincorporated county, every sidewalk within 2 miles of every elementary school has to be paved. And I see from the flyers and the materials that it's on a case-by-case basis, but some people, you know, I don't know what kind of surveys you're getting onto the individual areas, or consider divvying up this project into, or getting some kind of feedback to things that people think are more important than others. Because some people, you need an area for that. Sidewalks are really important. The water, sewer, drainage, that's very, very important. Asphalt, not that big of a deal. In a way, potholes are a little bit, sorry to say it, traffic calming. But, you know, as you make your presentations and think about these, you're lumping this all into a big giant sandwich that, like, Worthians need to eat our sandwiches like one bite at a time. We don't like change very much.
Yes. We have looked at a lot of the different things you mentioned, but there's a couple different categories you hit on. First of all, we have heard from the different districts and the different people that have come to neighborhood meetings, and I encourage you to come to your neighborhood meetings, to reach out to see what their priorities were, street calming, sidewalks. And again, we can't fix every sidewalk in this city with this amount of money. And we also need to share the love. We've heard, you know, oh, we're going to pay for more, you know, and from the city, from the realtors in the room, I hear from a lot of realtors that they come into the city, when they're showing the city, they go like this. You know, that is not acceptable, that you are selling the city like this, or that you are not being able to get your children a couple blocks to school on a safe sidewalk, or that you're going around the block because if you come in the other way, you're not going to hit that pothole. And we also heard from the south end that, you know, their potholes were kind of calming, and they're using them as street calming. However, that to me is not acceptable, to use a pothole for street calming. And that's where each district commissioner will actually address some of the calming, some of the street light issues more on a personal level. And I urge you to get with me and we'll talk about exactly what's going on. If this map does not fulfill your needs for that sidewalk, then we'll talk about it. But you have to remember also, sidewalks are a little weird in the city of Lake Worth because of our makeup, that some of them don't exist because they're somebody's front yard, side yard, backyard. You know, some of those right-of-ways are going to be hard to acquire. So we said, you know, if we can get one safe sidewalk on one side of the street to get you and your children to that school, you know, that might be the only option. Okay, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to come back up here.
Well, we've had more of a problem than all of that. We've had no water. We live east of Lakeside, and our pipe has burst 3 times, the main. 3 times in 1 year. You try to get up in the morning and flush your toilet, you can't. And then they finally come in, and we call them at 9 o'clock in the morning, and no one shows up until 1. And then I say, well, how come you must have been very busy this morning? And they tell us, oh no, we had nothing to do all morning, but we weren't given the okay to do this.
Well,
It's ridiculous.
that I can't speak to. I know that you have water problems in your area because Larry has addressed a lot of that. And this is what the pipes look in your area, and that's why they're busting. And they've come out and tried to repair and tried to, and you know, when you clamp down on that, that pipe is busting. You know, I can't talk to, you know, why they weren't out there at exact time, and we'll take care of that internally. Mr. Maxwell, would you want to? Okay, we'll jump up.
In the interest of democracy, I'm going to cede my recognition to Peter Tim so he can continue with his incisive and insightful comments for the public's edification. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you have a question, Mr. Tim?
I have a lot of questions. And I am trying to outline what I would do to pay for this. And that is to just give you one bond, let you show us what you could do with it, fix it up, make it look pretty, then you can go on to District 2, 3, and 4. But to just take all this money from us with no idea of whether you're going to want more, as all of our projects overrun costs, and where are we going to get that money from? Is that going to be another bond issue? There are so many questions in this that I will not support.
Thank you, Mr. Tim. Any other questions? Yes.
So, in order to pay this back, the millage is at 8.9. So what does that take the millage? How much does that increase the millage to pay back the $63 million?
To answer your question, it doesn't. The 8.9 is the operating millage. The millage to pay this debt is separate from that operational millage rate.
So how would that differ then?
Capital.
How would that, no, I understand, I understand, I'm a business degree, I understand how that works, but the question is, how would that differ, that difference in millage, from asking, just paying for this as you go and raising the millage, or paying for the bond? What is the difference in the millage to the resident?
The amount of money that's generated.
Which is, what percent?
You're looking at 1 mil versus a maximum of 3.4, which would generate about, in current environment, about $3.5 million. And the 1 mil in the general fund would generate about $1 million.
Then a millage rate of 12, in other words. The true millage rate is going to be 12. 3.4 plus 8.9.
You're mistaken.
You know nothing about it because you were not there.
Okay, we're not going to go back and forth. Jamie?
Well, what is it? What would that rate be, the millage rate, you know, with the bond?
12.44 my
Okay,
minimum capacity.
so we would go from 8.9
I just
to
mentioned.
12.44, and if we paid as we went, the max we could go would be 10, is that correct?
Correct, a state statute. A couple other points I'd like to make. One is that we provided you the worst case scenario at 4% AV and 3.45 millage rate. Now, lots of things that are unknown today. As we go forward, some of our estimates may be high, and some of them will be low. But over the long haul, I think with our contingencies we have, that we will come in with all the projects on or below what our current budget is. That does two things. That allows us not to borrow as much money, and conceivably, if the economy keeps the way it's going, is we could actually either not borrow some money or pay some off early, as we did the fire station.
We're going to let Jamie take over.
Real quick, just kind of address some of the stuff that Mr. Tim had talked about. All the plans that we showed up here earlier, the water sewer master plan, the stormwater master plan, the road master plan, all these that have been done in the past, we've never had a comprehensive citywide infrastructure master plan that has addressed everything all in one plan itself. So the reason we didn't break out district by district and say we're only going to do projects in District 1, or District 2, or District 3, or 4, is because we relied on empirical data, and we actually did this citywide to see what is the worst, what is the best. Let's rank everything by priority, and there's a master list now, which is the 5-year project list. So to pull out certain districts would not be addressing what actually needs to be addressed and the priority it should be addressed in.
Phil?
Oh yeah, the way this was done was basically every single project as part of this 5-year plan, we have an estimate for every single project. That's actually been looked at by 2 different engineering firms to verify that all the numbers that we came up with are accurate and that we have everything built in there. So if you wanted to pull out any project up there on the grid, I can tell you exactly how many are linear foot of, 8-inch water line or a storm line or whatever you want to look at. I can tell you exactly what that line item is, how much it's going to cost. We can break out every single project as far as the management, you name it. So everything is built into it, so we've covered everything. And we have contingency built in there as well, which is what the finance.
Even the turtle lighting?
Excuse me?
Even the turtle lighting
Turtle lighting.
at the beach? Not sticking it in.
We weren't here for that.
It's my understanding, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 8.99 millage that is existent, a lot of that goes to the county. This 3.45 will stay with us only, is that correct?
Correct.
Mary?
Maybe the city manager can answer this question. What role will the internal auditor play in the oversight of all of this? Can you tell us?
It's a good question. We haven't had an in-depth conversation with Ken Oaks, but our relationship has been with all our operations, he has a free hand to come in and look at all the various operations books and to make comments. And I would expect and anticipate that he would do that through this function. Also, I think it's important, there's been some conversations about the Finance Advisory Board, which we finally got a quorum. It's an advisory group that helps advise the commission and the staff on financial issues with the city. Is finally up and running and is currently working with some of the budget issues. That there's been some discussions about having them also be that citizen advisory group to make sure that we're hitting our marks, that the numbers and the financing and everything that's being reported gets their set of advice as well. And that would be something as a city manager that I'd be very favorable to work with them as well, so you have the two different operations. But there's a tremendous amount of oversight, reporting requirements the finance department is required to do anytime you do this kind of borrowing and projects. So we would be we've been very transparent about the issues and the problems. We'd be very transparent about the funding and the options and going forward and how we're doing throughout the whole 5 years.
In closing, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Again, this information here, we will be happy to answer any of your questions. You can go to the website and see everything in more detail. Staff is here. You're more than welcome to come up and look at the maps and actually look at your home, where it is, and ask specific questions. I'm always available. Feel free to call me. All our phone numbers are on the website. Thank you for coming out.